Hey guys, today is November the 13th. It is about 7:45 p.m. Saturday Eastern Time. Tomorrow, being the 14th, is supposed to be the big giant tipping point release event or events as far as the webbot's concerned. A little bit of an update on his website, just a few things he wanted to say. I think I'll go ahead and read it to you and maybe pitch in a couple things here and there. It's titled Failing, and this is from Clif High's website, halfpasthuman.com. It's the first topmost link to a new page he created. Failing, falling, flying, fearlessness. With respect, let us begin. By the way, this camera might be a little bit shaky because I left my tripod at work. I've been forgetting to bring that thing back. With respect, let us begin. In our mat work, either at the dojo or the wujo, or the woo-woo, which is the place that the path to enlightenment using woo-woo is practiced, we must begin with respect. We will come back to this. Today is Saturday, November 13th, 2010. It is Misogi, M-I-S-O-G-I, day at the dojo. Remember that word, Misogi. Hint there. Today is the day before my forecast tipping point into release language. So far this week and last, since we entered the emotional tension plateau, the spiders are showing that our forecast language is manifesting as expected. He's talking about his webbot spiders that go get the information. Spookily so, in fact, we are within 0.09% of the anticipated emotional tension value alterations. 0.09% is basically like saying it's 0.1% away from one. Basically it's 0.9 is 1%. Let's just go there. We are within 1% of the anticipated emotional tension value alterations. In other words, they're only hitting 1% of the language that's fixing to come. And possibly by tomorrow. So it'd be nice if you said, oh, we're about 50-60%, over the weekend we had the Federal Reserve do this, and China said, screw you, we're not exporting to you anymore. Something massive like that, Imagine what would happen to our shelves on the store, all the stuff on the shelves. I mean, we'd be cleaned out if China did that. I just made that up, by the way. It'd be nice if that was 50%, and he came on here and said, oh, we're at 50% language fulfillment, and tomorrow should be the other 50% on the forecasted date. What this is saying is it's only 1%. We've reached that right now. So all the stuff you heard about, going to the G20 meeting and all them smiling. I watched on TV a little bit. Barack Obama just shaking hands, got China guy next to him. We're best friends. We got this. We're going to come out of this with a good conclusion. South Korea, same thing. What was the result? Nothing. China said, we're not going to revalue or up value of our currency so that you're not hurt that much. It's going to hurt our own country if we do that. That's stupid. That's suicide. And all of G20 basically agreed and is not backing the U.S. side, which is the U.S. is saying, oh, China needs to revalue their currency, make it worth more. They're going to be cutting jobs. It's not going to help the jobs situation in America. They need to do something. And China don't have nothing to do with this. China has nothing to do with this. You allowed all of the exporting of jobs to happen long ago. The president before you also, nonsense. So I've been paying attention this whole past week. It's right in the middle of the dates that he originally gave, the 8th through the 12th or whatever. You saw what happened financially at the G20 meeting. Didn't go good. I don't know if I put a video out recently. I've been talking at work, though, a lot. And I said the same thing to some guys there, too. I said, look, don't expect anything whatsoever meaningful at all coming out of the G20. Nothing's going to happen besides people smiling and shaking hands. And, of course, as I watched it on TV, that's exactly what happened. $200 billion a day for him to go over there in Indonesia. It makes more sense if we set our Navy over there with the 34 warships and everything else costing $200 billion a day for this bozo to go over there. It makes more sense if we're doing that because we're fixing to strike Iran or strike something, something's going to go down. That's what really makes sense. So rather than have the rest of our country say, hey, why are they sending 34 warships over there? All the news, mainstream media, of course, is saying, oh, it's just, the president's going over there. It's just going to be one of the largest ones that, it's nothing abnormal. It's just one of the largest costing ones that, any president's ever had. But, with the global war on terror and that kind of stuff, we need that. Right. It makes more sense if they're fixing to attack somebody. And the missile that got launched several days ago off the coast of California may have been China. It could have even been Iran, because I thought I heard that China had sold a couple of their submarines to Iran a while back. The same submarines that in 2007 popped up right in the middle of our exercises in the sea, somewhere way out in the middle of the ocean. We had no idea they were there. They kind of popped up like, oh, hey, what's up? See ya, and then left. Bunch of red-faced generals is what they were talking about. How could they do that? We didn't know, blah, blah, blah. So if it was Iran or China or whoever, really doesn't matter who, just that missile that was launched, which was a giant missile, could have been ICBM, that was launched off our coast, west coast, United States, 35 miles off the coast of California, or whatever that island is next to California. And it could have been their way of saying, we know why those warships are here, you stupid bastards. Don't even think of it, because we're right off your coast. Don't even think about it. Maybe that's what that was. I really don't know. It's just, nor are we really going to know, probably. So, anyways, I just want to throw that out there. Get back on track here. So they're basically seeing 1% of anticipated emotional tension values, or of the anticipated values that we should be seeing over the next day or two. And as far as that goes, it says, to those readers who do not have ukemi arts, and thus are viewing the tipping point itself with trepidation, let me reassure you, this tipping point is not like the 9/11 attacks. This is only my second experience with such in this work, but I am able to tell that this tipping point, which is expected at 6:50 a.m. Pacific Coast time tomorrow, on the 14th, which would be 9:50 a.m. East Coast time. And it is not like that event at all. And they've said this many times, even on the radio shows he did recently. We are not, he said, again, they weren't sure what it was or what it's going to be or whatever. He said it's just going to be magnitudes greater than 9/11 as far as the after effect or whatever. The release language, as they call it. In other words, the after effect will be greater than 9/11. It's going to affect the USA, and it's going to affect the rest of the world because of whatever it is. For sure it's going to affect us. So he's now saying, if you're expecting a terrorist attack for sure to happen tomorrow, it may not be anything to do whatsoever with terror or bombs or anything. It could be something in the financial news. It could be a war. War doesn't have anything to do with the terror. It could be this strike on Iran. Who knows? It's just, the bottom line is something has to happen. And as I always say, they always ask for it. He hasn't said it here yet, but they always say plus or minus 2 or 3 days. When we give a forecast, plus or minus 2 or 3 days. So the 14th, in my eyes, to be completely fair with these guys, if absolutely nothing happens, and I'm not talking about us looking on the internet, well, what news is out there today? It should be known to everybody across the world, basically. By Wednesday of this coming week, a few days from now, if nothing is there, this will be the biggest, in my opinion, web-bot failure ever to occur. And I'm a big, firm believer in the web-bot. I've been following it for years, and I almost feel like I don't have choice not to at least pay attention, because I've seen things happen right on the exact date. I mean, amazing things. How the hell do you know an earthquake? Things like that. It's not like they could, someone had asked me, well, do you think it's possible that he got with this chick, Wild Colleen, beforehand, or maybe she was reading the web-bot reports, and she decided to be a self-fulfilling prophecy? Yeah, that's possible. It is. Extremely unlikely in my opinion, but it is possible. And then you have to realize, well, if that's the case, how do you explain the earthquakes they nailed? How do you explain the tsunami in Indonesia that killed 270 whatever thousand people, in which they forecast something was going to come? The exact keywords you would expect from an earthquake and tsunami, and even had 300,000 dead as part of that, to find out 270 or whatever it was, thousand died. I mean, nobody can go in and say, oh, well, I was in collusion with the webbot and I made that happen. That's why you have to say, okay, this is interesting. Even though it's not 100% right, it's right a lot of the times. It's right enough for me to pay attention. Will I still pay attention if this is an epic failure come tomorrow, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, nothing happens? Yes, I will be still paying attention because they still get things right. Not always. As big as this thing's supposed to be, it will be a major, major letdown. I will have to actually step back at that point in probably my videos of anything new that comes out of the webbot report and say at the beginning, look, November of 14th, 2010, they had a massive event supposed to happen that the whole world should easily see, just like 9/11. We all knew what the event was that day. It should be some event, regardless if it's terror related or not. It never happened. It was a complete failure. And then I'll go on to tell you what's in the report, just to report it to you. And have to step back and take it with a grain of salt from now on, probably. Even though they've nailed things in the past. Maybe something's changing now. Maybe people are reading the report at the highest levels of the world and realizing, man, they know what's going on. And things just basically change. I don't know. I'm not coming up with an excuse. I'm just throwing this out there. Whatever. It's not even the 14th yet. It's not the day after. I mean, we're not even there yet, so I don't have to come up with an excuse anyways. If it's wrong, I'm going to be making a video to tell you the big epic failure that it happened to, be this time. So, I have to be fair too and not just report only every single time on webbot hits. But at the same time, little minuscule things that it misses, it's not all that important to really report on. It's the stuff it gets right I really need to report on, that I need to bring to your attention. Because a lot of these things that they get right are precursor events. That happened, okay, so that means this is on like Donkey Kong. That's going to happen. And even though those two things I report on getting right weren't that important, they're precursor events. And, someone was emailing me saying, hey, why do you only report on the good stuff? You're crazy for not reporting on the bad stuff. It's not fair, that you don't do that. Well, yes and no, you're right, I probably should, but again, it's kind of like what's going on in the world right now. Do you want to report, like on my Facebook page, people used to argue all the time. Don't you have anything good to say? Don't you have anything nice to say? And I see all their little nonsense stories of the day, a little, some crap that they plagiarized off of some website, I can't even think of anything, but this stupid little sayings, little one-liners, pass this along to your friend and, peace will be with you and whatever, It's not those of us who don't get up every day. It's those of us who try and succeed and, just nonsense, whatever. You want to focus on that, which has absolutely no effect whatsoever. In other words, like a webbot miss, has absolutely no effect whatsoever. Didn't come true. Doesn't affect anything. Or do you want me, Dr. Doom, telling you, hey, there's a Category 5 hurricane? Matter of fact, it's off the scale. It really should be about a Category 6, maybe a 7. But we don't have a scale that high. It's just formed today, out of nowhere. It's coming. It'll be in town and within 24 hours. You'd probably want me to tell you that if I knew you or somehow knew you, friends, whatever. You'd probably expect me to say, hey, you're in that area, right? Yeah. Listen, this isn't on the news yet. Get your crap together. Pack this. Head out. Head way north. Whatever. It's going across the state of Florida. Go right now. Leave work early because if everyone's going to catch on, they're going to be leaving. You're going to be stuck on the interstate, etc. Go. Take off. You would want me to say that, but I just told you the biggest dooming event of your life because your house is going to be knocked down. Anything inside your house that you wanted to keep is finished. It's done. It's going to be blown over in a hurricane. You're going to leave with just a few things that you really need with your family and get out of town. And then come back and say, man, that was terrible doom news. I really didn't like to hear that because I'm such a, happy-go-lucky guy or girl, and I only want good news. Well, what's important? The fake stuff that these bozos post on Facebook, the nonsense, the feel-good stories that mean nothing that were written by some bozo that aren't even true? Or the truth, the realist news, Dr. Doom, for example. So anyways, alright. To the readers who do not have the Ukemi arts and thus are viewing the tipping point itself with trepidation, let me reassure you, this tipping point is not like the 9/11 attacks. This is only my second experience with such in this work. But I am able to tell that this tipping point is not like that event at all. But it will be huge.